Mine has everybody on mute.
That's okay.
Hi, Wiley.
Hello.
Wiley Thompson.
Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Haven't seen you in a long time. Welcome.
Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I will be calling this meeting to order. Today is May 7th and our second official budget meeting for this budget season or this budget session. We're going to go ahead and start with Board of Commissioner introductions, starting with Commissioner Webb.
Commissioner Pam Webb.
Good morning, Commissioner Wakua.
A little better there, being unmuted. Good morning. My name is Anthony Wakua. I'm Commissioner for District 2 of Clatsop County.
And Commissioner Thompson is having connection issues, so.
Perfect. And Commissioner Quayla is excused. And then let's go ahead and move to our citizen committee members. I apologize, I am on my phone, so you guys are really tiny squares for me today. I do see Clara here on my screen, so let's start with her.
Clara, I'm one of the citizen committee members from District 5.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us. I see Lindsay also Davis. Go ahead.
Lindsay Davis, Citizen Budget Committee member. Thank you.
I'm moving across my screen, hopefully. I apologize. I can't actually see anybody. Do we have any other citizen committee members joining us today?
Yes, Colin Cummings.
I apologize. Could you repeat?
Colin Cummings, the 4-H Extension Service District.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us today.
David Ozer, citizen member.
Good morning, David. Any other advisory committee members?
John Reichel, Rural Law Enforcement District Committee.
Welcome, John. Thank you for joining us today.
Robert Stevens, Rural Law Enforcement Committee.
Welcome. Thank you.
Michael Carter, Rural Law Enforcement Committee, District 5.
Excellent. Thank you for joining us today. Looking at our agenda, I see election of chair of budget committee up first. Do we have any nominations of chair?
Commissioner Banks, if I can interrupt, and I don't know, Andy, if you want to say something. So I believe that we're going to kick things off with the special districts. And so they will be a separate budget committee group. And so if you want to have Andy kind of kick things off, he can bring up I believe it's Rural Law Enforcement District that is going first. And so the nomination of chair and vice chair will come from the Rural Law Enforcement District Budget Committee members.
Okay, I apologize. I guess I misread our minutes. Okay, that's fine. So yes, go ahead, John, kick us off.
So I think initially we will need to elect the officers for the budget committee for the Rural Law Enforcement District.
This is John Reichel. I don't know how many members are present. I just seen Robert Stevens. Is Amy Lentz, or I thought there was a third person that came up on the Rural Law Enforcement District Committee.
Michael Carter is here.
Who is here?
Michael Carter.
Oh, okay. Well, if you're waiting for a motion, Robert Stevens is our vice chair for the committee. I nominate him for the chair of the Rural Law Enforcement District Budget Committee.
I second that motion.
Okay, I don't know if we need a third motion, if that's a quorum to elect the chair.
Well, yeah, we'll need a nomination for vice chair now.
And just to let everyone know, Amy Lenz is having difficulty logging in. I think she can hear, but she's not showing up.
Okay.
I nominate John Reichel as vice chair.
I think we just need a second motion.
This is Amy Lenz. I figured it out. I second the
Okay.
motion.
Excellent. Okay, I believe we have our officers elected. And kind of going down the line here before we get into the budgets. Does any member have a conflict of interest to report?
Yeah, Michael Carter, as I have reported previously in all of the past years, I do have a small business relationship with the sheriff's office as radio equipment repair and some software that they are running that I have written. These are items that are fairly minor, but we still claim them as a potential conflict of interest.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any other potential conflicts of interest to report?
None.
Seeing none, we can move forward into the approval of the 2024 budget meeting minutes. And again, I believe we just need a motion for approval.
John Reichel, I make a motion to approve the 2024 budget meeting committee minutes.
Michael Carter, I second the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
Excellent. Thank you both. And lastly, do we have any public comment before I pull up the budgets for rural law? Does not look like it. Great. Okay. Let me pull this up. Assuming everybody can see the presentation. So we just wanted to provide the brief overview of each area. Again, we're starting with the service districts. In total, the proposed budget for all the service districts is $11,100,070. These are 100% dedicated funds, and then we'll kind of march down each service district individually. So again, beginning with rural law enforcement district, as we're kind of looking at the different balance changes between the current year budget and next year's budget, we just wanted to point out some of the drivers for these balance changes. So kind of starting from the top for personnel services, there's an increase of 7.9% due to cost of living adjustments of about 3% and increased health insurance retirement costs, as well as due to moving a half-time deputy position from Marine Patrol to enforcement as a special detective. In materials and services, there's an increase of approximately $92,000. That's primarily due to the addition of a RMS subscription for the new police report program and an increase in dispatch costs due to additional staffing and a new CAD system. Capital outlays, there's a slight decrease, but the amount of $75,700 that is proposed is for a purchase of a patrol vehicle. And in the end, the increase in contingency is related to an anticipated increase in the beginning balance. So again, that's just a very brief overview of the main drivers for the balance changes. I know we have department heads and staff available for any other questions or discussion. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so we can see everybody. And from there, I will turn it back over to the budget committee for any additional discussion.
This is John Reichel. You mentioned the RMS. I was looking at the funding source, and it looks like there was a significant drop off in the expenditures this year. Was that a one-time program, and it's just no remaining completion?
Yes, Sheriff Reichel, that's correct. We received a $500,000 grant in the last fiscal year, well, the current fiscal year, and the remaining that hasn't been spent will be spent next year.
Thank you. Are you taking questions just by right now in support staff for funding or at the entire budget?
For the entire budget.
So there's
Specific
one
to
item. Oh, excuse me.
Sorry, specific to the RLED budget.
Correct. Sorry. Correct.
Yeah. So in the expenditure on the enforcement budget, it's just a question I had. There's an line item there that's JRP deputy time. I don't know what that is.
That is the Justice Reinvestment Grant. That is money through community corrections. And so it's called the Downward Departure Program. So we're trying to keep people engaged in supervision so they don't end up going to prison. And part of that time is a patrol deputy to go out with POs and to make contacts and to make warrant arrests as necessary. So it's just an attempt to cover some of our costs on the enforcement side in support of community corrections.
And that's new for this proposed year?
Yes.
Okay,
Well,
thank you, Sheriff.
We have it now, and it's going to continue into the 25-26 budget year.
Thank you. That's all I had.
Commissioner Banks?
Yeah, I was just looking at this. I know our timber dollars are decreasing over the next few years. Are there any other revenue accounts listed here that are at risk or making us nervous either at the federal or state level?
I don't think so. We have a good relationship with the CJC, and we're being as creative as possible to bring those state revenues in to support our functions. But like you hit it on the head regarding the state timber funding, that's at risk. Commissioner Hakua?
Thank you, Sheriff. I was just curious regarding the new CAD system. What perks are you going to see with that upgrade, and what is it? What are the changes can we expect from the old system currently used?
Well, the current system is probably 25 years old without any major updates. So we'll certainly see a much increased ability to pull accurate and timely reports on what crimes are happening, what our deputies are doing, things like that. This is going to integrate several other functions that we do, like our civil and our evidence, where we have different programs. This will be all in one. That'll also help a lot with data entry. People will already be in the system, so we're not re-entering it into a different separate system. So there should be some efficiencies there. On the CAD side, this is countywide. It's going to increase the ability of like the fire departments to be able to have mobile data terminals in their rigs. And then I think it'll be a better system for the dispatchers actually to send calls out. We'll have increased ability in our patrol cars to dispatch ourselves and enter data, at the officer and deputy level. That's just some of the multitude of benefits. It's a modern system that will really integrate several functions into one.
Awesome. I'm happy that we're getting that for you. Thank you.
Commissioner Banks?
This question might actually be for Monica or someone else who might know. How on point were we for our proposed and actual received in the budget in regards to our timber monies this last year, this last budget cycle? Were we close on our guesstimate or were we way off?
Are you talking about the current 24-25 fiscal year?
Yeah.
We're pretty close. We still have one more timber receipt that we will be receiving. At this point in time, we don't anticipate any major reductions in the timber revenues because the HCP implementation hasn't fully gone into effect. And so at this point in time, the reductions that we're seeing are the fluctuations, we're pretty on point with where we were at.
Okay, good. Oh, thank you. I just was checking in.
Excuse me, this is Teresa. I wanted to let you know that Chair Stevens got disconnected and is trying to reconnect. So Vice Chair Reichel, I guess you'll take the helm.
I think Michael. Oh, okay. All right. Is there any other questions on the RLED budget? Hearing none, requesting a motion for the approval.
Motion so made.
And just confirming, Sheriff Reichel, that your script includes a motion including the proposed tax rate.
That's correct. I just thought that we'd get a motion with that included. But so is anybody willing to make a motion from the committee that we approve the budget with a tax rate of 0.7195 per thousand?
I make the motion to approve the RLED budget with that 0.7195 per thousand budget.
And is that Michael Carter?
That is Michael Carter. Sorry.
Okay, name shows up different here. So I've got a motion. Do we have a second?
I second that.
Everything went quiet here. I don't know if it's working or not. So I'll go ahead and second because I'm not hearing any other second. We don't have a quorum, do we?
Commissioner Wakua seconded the motion.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So we have a motion and a second to approve the RLED budget at a tax rate of 0.07195 per thousand. Call for the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye with your name.
Aye, even though I don't show up as Mike Carter.
Aye, Amy.
Is that aye?
It is.
Okay. John Reichel, aye. And do we need the regular members too of the budget committee?
Yes, the Board of Commissioners, and I can call on them for you if that's helpful. Commissioner Banks, she gave a thumbs up as an aye. Commissioner Wakua?
Aye.
Commissioner Webb,
Aye.
and I'm just confirming that that's everybody. Thank you.
Okay, motion passed. That concludes it for the RLED budget meeting.
Yes, it does.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Really appreciate everyone's participation. Okay, we are moving into the 4-H and Extension Service District. Let me get this pulled up. So for the 4-H and Extension District, in front of you have some of the
So, Andy, I'm just going to interrupt really quick. Sorry, Commissioner Bangs, if you want to call for a vote for a chair and a vice chair of the 4-H district.
Thanks, Monica.
Thanks. Yeah.
Good morning. Do we have any nominations for chair? From 4-H Extension.
Who are our options? This is Colin coming.
So go ahead.
I believe the options we have are Thomas Ank, Ed Johnson, Colin, yourself, Joy Brewer, and Lindsay Davis.
Okay, I'm not sure who of that group is on.
I did see Lindsay.
And Thomas is also on.
Well, I'm new to this process. I'm happy to nominate somebody else. I'm happy to nominate Thomas for the chair position.
Oh, and
Do we
I was
have a
going to
second?
nominate Lindsay. You see how this works?
Do we have a second for Thomas?
I can second Thomas.
It's been moved and seconded for Thomas as chair. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Colin coming.
Okay. I will be passing it over to Thomas for your election of vice chair or your nomination. Thank you.
Well, I will nominate, who was my choices? Again?
Lindsay and Colin.
Well, Lindsay, I'll nominate Lindsay for vice chair.
Do you have to have a second? I'll second it.
I think we need a second. Yeah, thanks.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All righty.
Excellent. Thank you.
All right. Does any member have a conflict of interest to report?
No.
Hearing none. Do we have a motion for the approval of the 2024 budget meeting minutes?
I'll provide a motion to approve the 2024 budget meeting minutes.
I will second that. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Do we have any public comment? Hearing none. We will move on to the review of the proposed budget by activity by the county staff.
Excellent. Thank you. So again, coming back to the actual budget balances and the different balance changes from the current year to the next year, just to provide a brief overview. The materials and services, all those increases are related to the cost of living adjustments for 2.98 support staff, which equates to approximately $323,000 total. And then the remaining $141,000 is set aside for operational expenses for items such as utilities, facilities, and other admin costs. The contingency increased approximately $203,000, which is contributed to an increase in the beginning balance. And again, we do have staff and department heads available for any other questions or further discussion, I will turn it back over to the Budget Committee.
Do we have any concerns or questions for county staff? Okay. I will say that it looked great to me. I was actually pretty impressed, and thanks for doing the work on that.
Real quick, Tom, Commissioner Bangs does have her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't see her. Yeah. Yes.
So quick question for staff. I see a 61% change from property taxes from the prior year. That just seems like an odd number, really high. Is there a noted reason why? I mean, it's good, I guess, but.
I believe the driver for that is that the initial budget amount was a little bit lower than what we anticipated, so we're right-sizing it for the current year.
Well, I like things in our favor, so that's good.
This is goes in a good direction.
Yes.
Any other questions? All right. Hearing none, I'm looking for a motion to approve the budget with a tax rate of 5.34 cents per thousand.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Do I have a second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone. We're moving into Road District number 1. We don't have a committee for this district, so our Board of Commissioners will be acting committee members, but I still believe we need to elect chair and vice chair.
I take it it's back to me then. Do we have any nominations for chair for this committee? I'm not seeing the title. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Road District number 1.
Thank you. Road District number 1.
Just for clarification, this would be the Board of Commissioners who are the acting body for this. And in prior years, something that has occurred is that just the acting chair would be that chair and then nominate a vice chair for this committee. And so since there's just 3 commissioners on right now, because I know Commissioner Thompson is having a connectivity issue, that would be Commissioner Webb and Commissioner Wakua. And so if one of you wants to make a motion, then we can proceed.
Are you looking for are you saying that this committee, the budget committee, will be constituted entirely of county commissioners?
Yes, that's typically how it works for the road district as well as the Westport Sewer District, because we do not have any lay citizen committee members. And it is in accordance with budget law that you can be the acting body for this district.
Could I have a nomination for vice chair of this committee?
Vice chair first.
You're welcome to nominate me if you'd like.
Can chair do a nomination? Chair nominates Commissioner Wakua as vice chair of this committee. I'll need a second.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for Commissioner Wakua to be vice chair of this committee. All those in favor signify with an aye. Aye. Okay, Wakua vice chair. Moving on to Road District number 1 on page 477. Is there any conflicts of interest to be declared? Okay, hearing none, let's move to approval of the 2024 meeting minutes. I'll need a motion.
Motion to approve the 2024 minutes.
In a second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2024 meeting minutes. Are there any comments from the public?
No, there are not.
Okay, hearing none, we are going to move on to the review of proposed budget activity by county staff. I assume that'll be Andrew.
Yes, it will. Thank you, Commissioner. So this is a relatively, I'll say, linear budget. The two lines we're looking at between materials and services and special payments. Materials and services fairly status quo. There's only a slight decrease related to indirect costs, and the overall special payments will be decreased related to a decreased beginning balance. I know that is a very, very brief, overview. But I will open it up to any other specific questions and give it back to the budget committee members.
I'll just go ahead since, so I'm seeing interest on investments is a decrease by 8%. Is that just because of the stock market?
We are anticipating to see some of those returns. We did very, very well this current year. The market did very, very well. I think we're just kind of anticipating, yes, it's already starting to slide. I don't think it's anything of concern, but I don't think it's going to perform as well as the current year.
As the current year. Okay, excellent. And for this budget, were we pretty on point for the timber reductions?
We are right there.
Okay,
perfect. Very similar across the board for timber.
Okay, cool. Excellent. Thank you so much. Are there any questions? Any other questions? Okay. Seeing no other hands raised, I would be asking for a motion of approval for the budget with a tax rate of 1.0175 per thousand.
I motion to approve the budget with the tax rate of 1.0175 per thousand.
It's so moved, and is there a second?
Second.
Excellent. It's been moved and seconded to approve the budget with a tax rate of 1.0175 per thousand. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. So moved. Shall we just continue into the Westport Sewer District then?
I think we could do that.
Awesome.
Sorry, I hate to be the technical bummer, but you do, because this is a completely different district, and so you do have to call for nomination of chair and vice chair.
Okay, so would I be serving as chair also for this, and we're nominating a vice chair?
Yes, you can continue to, the board can continue to make that action, yes.
Okay. Could I hear a nomination for vice chair for the Westport Sewer Service District?
I would nominate Commissioner Webb as vice chair for the Westport Sewer Service District.
Okay, I'll need a second. Okay, chair seconds that nomination for vice chair for Commissioner Webb to the Westport Sewer District. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Webb nominated as vice chair for the Westport Service District. Let's go ahead and move to declaration of conflicts. Are there any conflicts of interest? Okay, hearing none. Moving to approval of 2024 meeting minutes, I will need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, and a second.
I second.
Excellent. It's been moved and seconded to approve the 2024 meeting minutes. All those in favor signify with an aye.
Aye.
Aye. So passed. Let's go ahead and go to comments from the public. Are there any comments from the public?
No public comment.
Excellent. Let's move on then to review of proposed budget by activity by county staff, and I assume it will be Andrew again. Thank you, Andrew. Mr. Sullivan.
If I can find my audio button there. Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Okay, looking at Westport Sewer District and some of the balance changes. Looking at materials and services, there's an increase of $79,000, which is mainly associated with the proposed engineering work for the UV system. Unspent ARPA funds are being utilized from the current year to pay for those costs. The decrease of $305,000 in capital outlays is a result of ARPA funds being used in the current year for the UV treatment system. And again, those ARPA funds are expiring next year. The transfers out is status quo for the $4,000 to Westport sewer equipment. And the contingency increase of $48,000 is due to an increased beginning balance. That is an overview of the Westport Sewer Service District. We'll open it up for any questions or discussion from the Budget Committee.
So I have a question. The ARPA funding, the line ARPA funding, it's just straight zeros all the way across. So I know it's a pass-through account, basically, but I just assumed that it would showcase the amount spent each year, even though it's a pass-through. But maybe I am wanting to see, because it's a pass-through, it's already to its account that it needs to be in. So, yeah, I guess I wish I had a little bit more of a map for the ARPA funding visually, but thank you.
Monica, if you wanted to field that a little.
Yeah, so on the ARPA funding side where it says funding sources, where it says transfer from American Rescue, that's actually the funding that has come from ARPA. And because each year we made that transfer. The expenditure side of things is in the materials and services and the capital. And so, yeah, does that clarify? And we are updating once this fiscal year ends. We do have the information on the ARPA page on the county website that says where the funding, what the funding was spent on. And so that will be getting updated once the year is complete. And as Andy mentioned, they have until December 31st of 2025, or sorry, 2026 to get all of those funds spent. We have obligated them all and they have until then to get them spent.
Thank you. That was actually what I was looking for, as the transfer and the where. I see Commissioner Webb has a question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I do. I guess I'm just wondering why the sewer equipment is separate from the service. I don't know that we do that with very many of our entities. What is it because the equipment is part of our capital? Tell me.
Yes, so this is a district, and so it has two separate funds. And so much like the countywide budget, there's multiple funds. This district has two funds, mainly because one is intended for those capital purchases, and then the other one is more the service aspect and where the user fees, those revenues come in at. So it's the same district with just two funds.
So we're moving toward capital budgeting. I like it. Thank you.
Excellent. Are there any further questions?
Clara?
I have one.
Oh, wonderful. Go ahead.
I'm not sure if it's just I'm reading it wrong, but when Andrew had the previous page up, for special payments, I was seeing a different number than I'm seeing in our binder. Just want to make sure that I'm reading it right or I'm not missing something.
I think what may be contributing to that is what I've we'll put up on the slide, as Monica mentioned, these are two funds, but the way that we're reviewing it is we're collapsing those two funds into one. So if you take the two amounts, you should get to the total.
Okay, I mean, in our binder, they look like separate sections. The equipment's in a separate section than the district. Under just district, sorry, my dog's in a squeaky toy. It's saying under special payments, there's a negative 37%. And I believe on your screen, it was a negative 25. You're muted if you're.
Of course I am. Sorry about that. So you're referring to the special payments year over year. I mean, it's actually going to be an increase of about $3,500 at about 26% increase. And again, I can kind of take a look at those two separately to make sure that I'm addressing your question accurately, but I believe that's why you're seeing the small discrepancy.
I mean, it's a pretty big one because in here it's saying special payments is negative 37%. So that's over a 50% difference.
So if you will give me just a minute, I do have the proposed budget pulled up. So you're saying in special payments.
On page 480, it says that, and then also on 481.
Okay. So on 480, I do see what you're saying, and I can share this in just a minute. I was just going to try to do a quick calculation for you. Well, I'll tell you what, I can make note of this and come back to it in just a minute instead of everybody staring at me spinning my wheels here. I can just make sure that that's aggregating correctly for you.
Okay, thank you.
And while we're waiting, do we have any other questions? Okay, so I do not see any other hands up, so whenever I could sing a song, but we don't want that.
I would certainly love it.
Oh boy. Right now it's Little Einsteins. That's what's in my head. So I don't know.
Yeah, so if the I don't know if this is one where it would just take me a moment instead of me clicking back and forth on my screen here to arrive at the amount that Claire is referring to. I didn't know if we wanted to briefly pause and move forward.
Is it possible to table this and come back to it and move on to a different topic? And this probably is a question for Monica.
So what would have to happen is we would have to we would have to pause for this budget committee meeting, and then we would have to move forward at a later date and just do it at the next meeting as far as the approval of the budget and moving forward there.
Will we need
Does
a
that
motion?
answer your question?
Yeah, will we need a motion to do that?
We would just, yes, make and I apologize, I'm trying to think back when we put a pause on the prior meetings. We're just going to continue the budget committee make a motion to continue the budget committee meeting until May 14th.
For the Westport
Sewer District.
Sewer District.
Sorry,
Okay,
yeah.
so I am looking to hear a motion for
And so I'm
Continue.
sorry, I don't want to confuse things or anything or complicate it, but kind of looking at the groupings and what was displayed, it looks like there was an amount in there in the special payments. I mean, what I can tell you is that in total, those balances are accurate. I think we just had something in the line item there that got captured in the special payments, which was inflating the balance. I don't know if that's a good enough explanation. I can dive in further, but that's what happened.
So
I
what
think
is
we
the
can
accurate
just-
number? So I can put it in the
I-
binder.
I think because I just want to kind of be clear, Clara is a countywide budget committee member, and so this would be more of a public comment. So I think at this point in time, it would be best to continue this budget committee meeting until May 14th. So that way we can kind of get that clarification on the information and the numbers, and then bring that forward at the next budget committee meeting for the Westport Sewer District. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So I'm looking for a motion to continue this topic for Westport Sewer District till May 14th.
So I'll motion to continue this budget committee meeting regarding the Westport sewer topic till May 14th.
In a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue this topic for Westport Sewer District for May 14th. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 Let-
Okay, motion passes.
Let me abstain because I just got electricity back and didn't hear the rest of the discussion. So put me on the record as an abstention, please.
Okay, and Commissioner Thompson abstains, and welcome back, Commissioner Thompson. I'm glad you have power. All right, so we will be moving on to flipping my pages. That's not the right page. Does anybody have a hint of what we're moving on to?
We're moving on to the countywide budget.
Okay, so we will be moving into the countywide budget. So we will be calling for a nomination of chair. Commissioner Thompson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would nominate David Ozer to be our chair again.
Okay, do we have a second?
I will second Tita Montero.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to have David Ozier as chair. All those in favor signify with an aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. David Ozier, I will pass you the baton.
Thank you. So the second order of business is a nomination for the vice chair position. Do we have any nominations? Commissioner Thompson,
I'd nominate Tita Montero to be our vice chair.
do we have a second?
I cannot accept the nomination.
Okay.
Thank you.
See how you are. That's what I get for not deliberating outside a meeting.
Commissioner Bangs? Commissioner Bangs?
You're muted.
Yep.
I'm muted. I nominate Lindsay Davis as vice chair.
I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any other nominations? All in favor? Aye.
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 Okay. Does any member have a conflict of interest to report?
No.
I want to report that I am a board member of Clatsic Behavioral Healthcare, but since I do not receive any compensation for that, I don't regard it as an important conflict.
I'll also mention that I am a board member of Clatsop County Soil and Water Conservation District, but I also do not receive any compensation for that as well.
Any others? All right, so can we get a motion to approve the 2024 budget meeting minutes?
Didn't we do this?
I'd move to approve the minutes.
Second, Bangs.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
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 Excellent. All right, do we have any public comments?
No, we do not.
No public comments. All right. We will now turn proceedings over to the county staff to review the proposed budget by activity.
Thank you, Chair Ozier. So we'll begin the county-wide review, starting with the functional area of public safety and justice. The proposed budget for public safety and justice is $27,930,480 with a total FTE of 125.4, and the following org units are listed in front of you. I do see Commissioner Bangs has a question.
Yeah, I missed the page number. I apologize.
So because we're doing this as a grouped functional area, we're taking all the org units that are under this umbrella and addressing them as a group, as a functional area. While each org unit has its own specific page number that we can refer to, I was going to propose reviewing this at the functional area level. We do have some questions that are more specific to each org unit that we'll address along the way. So that's why you're probably not seeing like a specific page number to turn to.
So
Public safety and justice starts on page 145 for the functional area.
Thank you, Monica.
That was what I was searching for. Yeah, I just need a general direction of where I'm going. I apologize. Thank you so much, Andrew. And
No,
Lauren.
I'm sorry. I'm jumping around looking at different page numbers, so sorry I couldn't get that for you. So looking at the functional area, reviewing each line item, again, kind of starting from the top, personnel services is an increase of 5.4%, again, due to a projected COLA of 3% in addition to health insurance and retirement costs. There is a 0.63 FTE increase, which is in relation to the new deflection program coordinator. It is a state-funded position, but it's also offset with the shift of FTE to other functional areas to provide management oversight. And this includes shifting the juvenile director to provide director oversight to public health as a division of health and human services. The decrease in materials and services of $15,000 is attributed to cost controls performed by departments. In capital outlays, there's an increase of $68,000 to replace a timber enforcement 4x4 patrol vehicle. The transfers out, really what's driving that balance change is the juvenile crime prevention org unit is no longer being used. It's actually in the inactive org unit section of the proposed budget. And that fund balance is going to be transferred out at the end of the current fiscal year. And in the end, the contingency increase is a result of the savings from 24-25 that are rolling into 25-26 and are going unspent. So that's a overview of the functional area. I know the sheriff is available, the DA is available, department heads are available for additional questions or discussion. Commissioner Bangs, looks like you have a question.
During this time, are we going to be able to ask questions about specific subsets like medical examiner, or are we still just going to focus on overview and get to that later?
No, I think this would be the time if there was anything specific within this functional area to address. This would be the time to ask the questions. I do have several questions that were submitted from budget committee members that I can either address now or address after the discussion.
Why don't you address those now, and you might be answering my questions. So
Sure,
thank
yep.
you.
Yeah, some of these we've already. I'm sorry,
I would
go ahead.
urge, Andy, if you would, there are some questions that are about the budget as a whole, and if you could also address those up front rather than waiting to the end.
Oh, certainly. I'm glad you brought that up because I was going to address these by functional area and then countywide at the end, but I can change the order here. That's no
Yeah, I think it
problem.
would help us to do countywide first.
Sure.
Before, and then as we drill down to the specifics.
Certainly. So, as Chair Ozer mentioned, we do have a couple questions for the county-wide budget. So these are some general questions. One of the questions was related to page 109. And the question being to explain the unappropriated fund balance of $8 million and how it fits into the budget process. So these are additional revenues that are unnecessary to meet the county's budget needs for the 25-26 fiscal year and will roll into the next fiscal year. And those are part of the reserves that make up the fund balance to maintain the board reserve goals of 20 to 30%. That was the first question for countywide. The next question related to the average balance of our investments and if they're all in LGIP or if some are in longer term funds. So funds are in both LGIP and longer term investments. It's in accordance with county investment policy, and the average earnings is approximately 4.5% to 5%. And to kind of get an idea to quantify how much of those balances are being invested, approximately 82% is invested in LGIP and about 18% is invested in longer term investments.
And how much is that in dollars? Roughly.
So roughly what's in LGIP roughly is approximately $47 million, and the remaining 10 million is in longer term investments.
Excellent. I think that helps us to get a sense of the financial health of the county, that we have that much money that we're able to invest.
Absolutely. We're constantly looking at the, we talked about the market earlier, and, dusting off the crystal ball and seeing what's going to happen long term to make sure that we're making our investments wisely. We're not locking up anything that we'll need to have readily available.
And do people know what the LGIP is? Does everyone know what that is? I assume not. Mr. Sullivan, do you want to just say what that is?
Sir, I can give a brief, and Monica can jump in obviously and let me know if there's anything that she wants to expand on. But in general terms, it's a pooled investment, bank account for the state. So they perform those investments, and they're all subject to the same interest rate.
All of these investments, both in the local government investment pool and the longer term, are all in fixed income investments. The county has no investments in the stock market. So these are
No, we do. As far as our longer term investments, we do have an investment policy that we follow in accordance with that. And to Andy's point earlier, we ladder those investments, and that's investments because we're investing by individual funds, because different funds are going to have financial resource needs at different points in the year. And so, for example, our RLED funds, those might go into a longer term investment where they might be able to earn more funds because those are sitting as reserve balances that we're not going to have immediate cash needs for. And so we ladder those out so that way as they expire, then we can reinvest something else. But
I understand, but the investments in these pools are not equities.
No, not in the
they are
stock market.
bonds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I think we can turn things, unless there are other, Commissioner Banks.
So, I mean, bonds are much more stable than obviously the stock market. Are those bonds percentage rate return going up or down? Like, how do those trend year by year?
I mean, I'll just speak to the current year. And they trend, I'll say, relative to the stock market, but not as probably not as yeah. I mean,
yeah,
correct. They're far more stable. And again, we're seeing some slight decreases, but nothing that's of concern. Currently, right. The LGIP rate is at 4.6%, which is considerably better than a lot of the other longer term investments that are offered to us.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Okay. Any other general questions regarding the budget? In that case, we can go back to page, I think it's 145 on the screen. Oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Thompson.
Well, thank you, sir. I noticed the other day that there was a variation between the figures that staff were reporting and the ones that I had in my printed document. I wonder if there will be an update of changed pages that we receive in hard copy, just so I can tuck them in so I know what I'm doing. I'd appreciate having an accurate written record. That's just a note, not really a question. It's a request. Thank you.
Certainly.
Okay.
So those are the two kind of countywide questions that were received. I didn't know if there's any other countywide questions we want to take. Now, we were addressing public safety and justice, so I was going to come back to the questions that I received from the budget committee, and then from there we could open it back up to the budget committee for any additional questions or discussion, if that works. There was one question posed that the sheriff addressed in the RLED discussion. This is concerning for the Sheriff Enforcement Division, page 166, if we could quantify the benefits versus the cost of the new dispatch system. And again, I'm kind of just repeating what the sheriff mentioned. It's difficult to quantify the benefits with the dollar amount, but the primary benefit is that the system is newer and updated to current technology, with the other benefits consisting of one program for records for both civil and evidence, compliance with stop reporting, OUCR reporting will be streamlined. They'll be able to provide mobile data terminals for fire departments, and the integration between modules so data doesn't have to be replicated or re-entered for different services. The next question that was received was related to page 181 for emergency management. It's directed to that org unit, but it's actually a more all-encompassing question of there's a decrease in the medical and dental insurance and in HSA and HRA contributions from the previous budget, and we're looking for an explanation. So when developing the budget, staff doesn't have the insurance rates that become effective January of the new fiscal year. In 24-25, there was a slight decrease in the rates because the CIS board voted to use reserves to buy down insurance cost increases for their members. This known lower rate creates a decrease in 25-26 from the budgeted 24-25 amount. And additionally, the decrease of approximately 7 FTE also in turn decreases the overall medical dental insurance costs.
So this is a real savings to the county.
It's a byproduct of some of the reductions. Yes, so ultimately it is a savings. Okay, there was another question on page 187 for the animal shelter. Question of what does the higher number of volatile public contacts mean? So the animal shelter is not just a place where people come to adopt a pet. It is also a place that must enforce the treatment of animals as well as licensing laws. At times, there are pet owners who are found to be mistreating their pets, and those animals are taken into custody, or the pet owner has to pay impound and licensing fees when their pet has been captured as a stray. In these instances, can sometimes create volatile public contacts. Let's give a little context to the explanation. This is the last question received for Public Safety and Justice. This is on page 206 for Community Corrections Division. Question is, why are we leasing beds if we have a surplus of beds? So Community Corrections receives a grant that includes paying the Corrections Division for jail beds when parolees are found to be in violation of the parole conditions. This is an expense for the Community Corrections Fund, which is a special fund, and it's revenue for the Corrections Division within the general fund. I hope that helps explain the bed leases.
Well, it's just an expense in one place and income on another place, and it nets to zero.
Well, I don't think it necessarily nets to zero. We will have additional revenues as a byproduct of engaging in these leases.
But in this particular expense, it nets out.
It's an
Oh,
expense.
income.
It's an expense to the Community Corrections Division, which is a special fund. And so as far as netting out to zero, it doesn't necessarily net out to zero because the Community Corrections Division is a completely separate fund. And so it's an expense to them. So it's like a business expense for them and revenue to the general fund.
Okay. This is a very important and very large budget area. I want to make sure that people ask any questions. I don't want to go over any of this stuff too quickly. Commissioner Banks.
I had a county-wide request, if I can possibly place that out now.
Go right ahead.
For the county-wide budget, as we go through this, if staff could highlight throughout each of these summaries, what potential funds may be considered at risk due to our current political climate that we're under. So if there's any federal funds that we have listed, any basically accounts that are associated to federal revenues, if we could just highlight those at the summary, so that, because I would just like to know how much risk we potentially are under.
No, absolutely. And we've been monitoring this very, very closely as this has been coming up frequently. And I can tell you that for the federal funding that could be at risk, it's less than 1% of our resources. So there's relative, I mean, there's little concern there of real financial impact.
That is excellent news. Thank you for that.
I'll just add, and Andy does have a slide that we'll present at the end when we are summarizing all of this, of what those funds and what those specific impacts are.
I appreciate that, actually, because I was just trying to figure out like what department to be concerned about potentially, and whether that is public safety or if that's some other department that we have as a county. So thank you for that. And I like hearing that it is less than 1%, considering timber revenues is 3%. So yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
I think that sounds good, but we know that there's the potential for cuts to the state, and that could come through to us either directly in a reduction in a program that's directly connected to federal funding, or indirectly because the state has to assign resources elsewhere. So I would urge you to take a broad view of federal cuts, the threat of federal cuts.
Yes, I appreciate that, Chair, so much. And just in response, I 100% agree. And yeah, just as much transparency as we can, because I feel being as fiscally aware this year is a great choice for all of us. So thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Do people have any questions on any of these funds or any of the line items on any of these funds that are included in public safety and justice? Let's start with Ms. Strauss. Is that how you pronounce it? Or let me just say Clara, because
Clara's fine. It's a hard last name. I have a question about the district attorney summary, which is on page 151. Give everybody a chance. There was a 330% increase in office furniture and equipment, and I'm just kind of looking for an explanation there.
Well, we've been slowly replacing furniture as we go, and so several of the people have already gotten the kind of the stand-up desk, whatever those things are called, and so we just thought that was about time to get some of those replaced. And if Lori's on here, she could probably add to it. Oh.
Okay. Commissioner Banks.
I see VOCA training is negative 100%, and there's nothing for VOCA supplies. I'm wondering, is VOCA going to a different budget, or is VOCA not being funded? Because
Well, Boca's, go ahead.
I like VOCA, so it's
Oh,
important.
we do too. It's
Yeah.
it's being cut 21%, according to the last figures, and they won't know. They're on a different calendar than we are. So usually it's in the fall, in September, that we find out. But that's what the state's telling us, is probably going to be 21% cut.
Is it
And
21% across the state, or 21% just for Clatsop County, or like
I believe it's across the state.
across the state? Oh, that's disappointing to hear.
Very.
And if I can just add, Commissioner Bangs, in regards to the specific line items that you're referring to, those are for grant purposes. They budget specific line items. And so if you'll notice, they were all zero historically. And so it's for tracking purposes when they receive grants to carry forward. And so that's why it's also at zero.
Is the county planning to use other contingency funds or other general funds to bring those victim VOCA services back to where they were?
So again, those specific line items that Commissioner Bangs was talking about were one-time grant fundings, and the board's budget policies is that we do not backfill state or federal grants. At this point in time, what we are proposing in the budget is in accordance with the budget policies, as well as the direction that we received from the budget committee as a whole last year. And as County Manager Boone mentioned in last week's budget message reading, we are monitoring all of this because we're aware of not just the headwinds we've been facing with the timber, but also the federal concerns. And so what we're presenting is relatively status quo. Again, not backfilling those one-time grant funds, and then monitoring once the state and federal budget does come forward, what that will look like for the county as a whole. And I see Don came on. I don't know if there's anything more he wants to.
No, Chair, those are members of the budget committee. I just want to reiterate what Monica was just saying, is at this point, there's so many uncertainties as we look over the next 6 months that we are taking a very wait and see approach, knowing that the environment is going to continue to evolve. Certainly in some areas, we know that a reduction could have some material impact to services and service levels. I think that the moment that we find out what the actual figures might be moving forward is a time that we will circle back. But I think some of those conversations likely won't happen until the fall, which is why we're being very conservative about what our approach is right now. And I think there will be decisions the board and budget committee will need to really contemplate mid-year about what the right approach moving forward is. It's just an interesting time when the stress from both the federal and the state government is also coming at a time when there's major strain on local revenue sources. You couldn't get more of a trifecta of strain and uncertainty as we are having right now. So we certainly recognize the uncertainty, but we also know that we're not going to have some of those answers about kind of the problem statement until probably early fall. So and that's why we're trying to keep as much in our fund balance as we possibly can at this point. So thank you.
Mr. Attorney Brown.
And I would just like to put in a plug right now for our victims advocacy program, as Commissioner Bangs was talking about. We've put in a bilingual aspect to that, and it's we think it's really good because we deal with a lot of people that don't speak English much or are afraid of the English-speaking world. And to have a bilingual victims advocate is certainly a real boon to our program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I agree, and I think that when we get to the end, when you sum things up, if you could, Mr. Sullivan, review some of the areas where federal funding is being cut back and where we might want to, as Steele says, backfill, and the committee can sort of help to prioritize what it thinks are where the first dollars should go. And certainly VOCA, at least from I would think, would be one of the places the first dollars could go. Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you. I appreciate that point of view. What I'm aware of is that the budget is a snapshot in time. It's a where we are now, where we anticipate going forward. But ballot measure 110, the deflection program, overall trends in housing and employment and crime rates and all of that, I think it's our challenge as we do this work to look at the impact on the community of how we're appropriating these dollars. And I'd like us to consider as a board of county commissioners and our absolutely essential budget committee that we consider how to measure the impact on community and look at how to shift what we're doing or how we're doing or maintain what we're doing so that we're always keeping in mind the demand on the services. For example, we have a new jail. That's brick and mortar. That's a lot of money. It costs personnel money to maintain that jail, but we can use it for secure treatment beds. We can use it to generate revenue from other counties. So that creativity and flexibility that's been a hallmark of our administration of the dollars, I'd like to highlight that and articulate it both for ourselves, the constituents, the people who are paying the money, and then as we go into lobby with state and federal funders, we'll have a better picture, a truer picture, a more complete picture of what's going on in our community. Because as Commissioner Bangs and others have repeatedly said, there are impacts. How do we track them? How do we advocate for our people in order to mitigate negative impacts and provide the services we need? I just urge us to keep that kind of focus. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bangs.
Yeah, I think I agree with Commissioner Thompson. I would like for us to be cautious because I know that everything is constantly in flux, and I would really struggle with prioritizing one over another in a list of who do we backfill. I would much rather have us be cautious prior to commitment and trust. Like, I have abundant trust in our staff that they are being very responsive to the fluctuating situation. And I know at the end of the day, it's a trifecta, as county manager said. We're getting impacted on every different direction. And I would just like to use caution. And I don't think I want to rank and file entities over other entities when we're looking at our community and our county as an entire group of people that are all going to be impacted. And so, yes, I mean, I adore VOCA. My family, donates their time to VOCA every year. It's just, I can't choose VOCA over another entity like behavioral health or other community services. And so I don't want to be in that position if I can help it. And so I would just say caution and really I'm hoping for the best this year for all of our finances and for all of our entities. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wakua.
Thank you. I just kind of have a question and want to clarify more for myself. Our goal here is just for approval or disapproval of the budget, right? We're not actually presenting any priorities or preference on these programs with that allocated money. That would be determined, later through you, but we're just financially looking for approval. Is that correct?
That's correct. The budget committee the budget committee process is kind of unique in our government in the state, in that it's the one area where citizens and electeds kind of meet on a level playing field to discuss these issues. And so I think it is appropriate to get a lot of views out to help management, the county management, see what people are thinking. But ultimately, yes, our goal is to approve or not the budget. We can recommend changes within the budget if we find something that we would like to change.
Okay, I appreciate that explanation. This is my first time being part of this budget committee, and in my previous experience with other budget committees, those two things are usually two very different entities. So I just wanted to ensure that I have a good understanding. Thank you.
County Manager Boone.
Thank you, Chair, members of the Budget Committee. I just wanted to reiterate real quickly that some of the information we're going to be receiving between now and, let's say, October, and I say October, it's, getting near the fiscal year end for the federal government, is going to have some material, exactly what that looks like, but just what I've seen coming from the federal government and what I've heard some of the conversations at the state level. I think it's inevitable that there are going to be things that we're going to have to come back and talk about. And I think since we don't know what those are, it's hard to really prioritize a list because we don't know what is ultimately going to be on the list, and we won't know what the complete list is until a later time. And as I know the Budget Committee knows, is that as things are added to the list, the dynamics on how they're funded becomes complicated because you have oftentimes dedicated resources, you have other granting opportunities, you have discretionary opportunities. There will be opportunities for us to potentially fund some of the reductions with other government granting programs. There may be some that will be discussed as part of discretionary allocations. But until we know what those actual programs are and what those service level impacts, it's really hard for us to really discuss them. And another sensitivity I have is obviously there's county staff that are associated with these funding sources. And it's really hard to talk about the impacts on staff and having staff hear about us talk about the impacts before we even know what we're dealing with. So I think there's going to be plenty of opportunity for us. I just think all that is probably going to occur after July 1st. So after we actually adopt this budget. Thank you.
Commissioner Thompson.
Thank you, sir. I want to be careful about the use of language. I heard my newest colleague say that this committee approves the budget, I think. And my understanding is this committee recommends to the County Board of Commissioners. That's the purview of the County Board of Commissioners, and absolutely grateful and invested in having a full, free, informed discussion of the budget, hearing what our community members have to tell us. But this committee doesn't have the authority to approve. That resides in the elected officials who are once accountable to the voters. It's our job performance that's on the line. Thank
Correct.
you.
Commissioner Wakua.
Yeah, Commissioner Thompson, I appreciate that comment and the correction. I do stand corrected on that. So yes, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions or comments on the public safety and justice group of funds? Any at all? Commissioner Bangs? You're muted.
Thank you. I was looking in the medical examiner section. I had a question just due to the fluctuations of percentages across both is that there seems to be a change in education and training and supplies and transportation costs of bodies and contractual services. Have we experienced an exponential increase in something, or did we pivot staff somewhere? And so are we contracting more services? I was just curious about the increases.
And what page is that on?
158 and 159. I apologize.
Thank you.
Sheriff, do you want to take this or do you want?
Yeah, you bet. Commissioner, thanks for the question. One of the things that we've experienced a challenge with is a change in the dynamic of the funeral homes and what they're willing to do. There was a time where they all cooperated really well together, and we have seen that dissolve. We had an on-call rotation where the funeral homes were happy to come at any time of day or night and retrieve a decedent. And they would make money, you know, as they normally would after they picked up the decedents. And now they're all basically demanding that they be paid for those pickups, even though we don't have a legal responsibility over that body. So that's where contracting for cold storage came in, but we will be entering, we have contracts now signed by both of the funeral homes in town that lines out when the county would be responsible for the body. So that'd be a case where the medical examiner has jurisdiction over the body, and we would pay the transport and cold storage fee until the body was released. So that's the change. And because we have jurisdiction, that person is actually ours to deal with. And so that's the big thing. And then on education and training, we'd like to, we have a very strong program, but we also have 2 part-time MDIs. We'd like to get a bit more training and to meet the ABMDI standards.
Thank you. It's fascinating the things you learn in this budget committee. Okay. Any other questions on this section?
Not on this one, but the next one.
The next one. Well, okay. Okay, so let us move on then to the next section. I think we have like 5 minutes before we're done.
Yeah, Chair Oja, I was just going to mention this out of respect for everyone's time. I know we're getting very, very close. We could start to dive in, but I don't think we'll get very far with the 5.5 minutes that we have left here.
So why don't we then pick up the public health? That's the next one you're going to do, is public health, right?
Correct.
Why don't we pick that up next week and start there? That'll be page 219.
If I may, Chair Ogier and Budget Committee members, so typically at this point in time, we would have our Board of Commissioners, who is the board that sets the salary for the sheriff as well as the stipend for the DA. And so if you all would, we currently have budgeted for both of those to make at least 10% above those that they supervise. So 10% more than the undersheriff for the sheriff and 10% more than the chief deputy DA for the DA. And so just asking that the board set those salary and stipend amounts, and then that would kind of wrap up the public safety functional area. And so should they choose not to join us next week, the sheriff and the DA wouldn't have to jump on.
Mr. Bangs, you got a comment?
I have a lot more questions in the public safety and justice, but we don't have enough time to go through that. Would we prefer me to just email the sheriff and then have him give an all response? But I want to avoid public meeting laws and issues with that. So
if you could please send those to Andy, and Andy would work with the necessary department heads if he's unable to answer them. And then that way he can bring them forth in the next budget committee meeting on the 14th.
Okay, because I don't want to close public safety without answering questions.
Absolutely.
It won't be closed. And I would urge any of the other members who have questions to do the same thing. Send them in, and we won't get to public health right away. We will move to those questions and other questions that come up. And I think that also would mean that there's no point in doing the salaries till after we finish all of that.
Correct.
All right. Anything else for the good of the order today? Okay, then we will sign off and everybody meet here, same time, same station next week.
So just a quick reminder, next week's meeting will be offered in person in the Boynton building. This will be from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. It'll also be offered virtually as well, but we will be meeting in person.
Good. Okay, so it's not same time, same station. It's
not quite.
Not quite. All right. Excellent. All right. Thank you all. See you next time.
Great. Thank you.